Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Mill, a podcast hosted by Mill & Co. I am Rachel Ballatori, the founder and CEO of Mill & Co. So excited to be here with an incredible human being to talk about her story, Christine Phillips. Her pronouns are she, her, and hers. Christine, thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me, Rachel. I'm looking forward to it.
Likewise. So, for our viewers, let's learn a little bit about Christine. She's the co founder of Friends of Aine, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting grieving children. She describes her life as divided into two time frames, before and after the death of her daughter, Anya. Prior to that, Christine spent more than a decade in the software industry, including her role as a project manager at Unisys Corporation, where she led software installations across the country and internationally. After stepping away from corporate life to become a stay-at-home mother, she later re-entered the workforce in 2012 as a paraprofessional in the Bedford School District, working with elementary school children of varying abilities. Alongside her husband, David, Christine established Friends of Aine in 2013 to provide positive pathways through grief. Under her leadership, the organization grew into a center for grieving children and families, earning numerous recognitions, including the Unsung Hero Award in 2014, Heroes Among Us and Community Hero in 2013. And Christine has also served as an editor for the Child Loss section of Bella Online, contributed to the Elliott Hospital Pediatric Bereavement Committee, and has been honored on the New Hampshire Business Review New Hampshire Top 200 list. In 2023, Friends of Aine was recognized with both the BIA Advantage Award and the Bank of America Neighborhood Champion Grant. Christine, I'm really touched to have you here. I know we spoke earlier. I've gone through my fair share of loss and hardship as well at a young age, and I just commend you. I mean, turning tragedy into something really positive and motivating is very difficult to do.
Hmm. Thank you, Rachel. And thanks for the intro. That was really good.
It's
I,
nice to hear your bio back to you.
yeah, I'm like, wow, okay. Um, and thank you for sharing with me earlier your stories, and I'm sorry for all that you've endured. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the Friends of Anya's started out as a survival technique and remains a survival technique, but is also a labor of love now.
Yeah. I think it's a beautiful way to look at it. I tell my friends all the time when they're like, how are you okay? My
Mm,
response is the only way out is through. And so you just have to trudge right through it.
you bet. You bet. And that's the same with really any hardship, right? Whether it's grief or other things. I mean, you have to face it. You've got to deal with it. And that's the only way you get to the other side.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's so interesting to hear this perspective. I've never really thought of it this way. You describe your life as divided into those two parts, before and after your daughter Anya's passing. When you reflect on your journey, what has grief taught you about love that you may not have learned otherwise?
Mm-hmm. I think there's, again, the before and after. And then love has two sides too. It's agony, and it is strength, and it continues to grow. It just grows. It just gets bigger and bigger. The love for my daughter gets bigger and bigger. When I thought that I'd never have that again. So I think that love is the ultimate energy, and learning how to embrace it and kind of learn how it can still fit into your life even when the pain is so great.
Yeah. It's amazing the perspective I feel that I have now going through grief of losing a parent and having a lot of cancer impact my other parent and very close relatives and aunts, uncles. I'm curious, how has the process of grief shaped your perspective on life, on parenting, on your legacy, friendships, everything?
It changed everything. There's a couple of things that I usually like to claim my seat, as they say. because I had some perspective already in my life. I was fortunate enough, and I still believe this. I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, and I learned so much through that recovery process. I still learn. I still go through that all the time. But I look at how much of that work went into me being able to work through um, the death of Anya. And it's perspective, it's healthy thinking, it's making sure that we understand that um, everything is temporary, right? Uh, there is another side. Um, I think Anya's death has taught me that even in the midst of pain, there is still hope. And in the early days after she died, that was not the case. I mean, this is, Anya died 15 years ago. So for me, I've had an awful lot of time now to reflect and to grow and to experience many different ins and outs and stages and emotions and whatnot of grief. So, again, hindsight, right? It tells us a lot. And one of the things that I've learned is that, yeah, uh, this is love at its finest and most. Um, it's the deepest level to love, to be able to love still so strongly for a human being who's not even here, but we keep her here because we love her so much. Right? And we can do that. We can use love to do that.
Right. This is a weird transition, but I have three dogs. I have three rescue dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had three dogs before, the three of them over the course of my life. And we all know dogs don't live nearly as long as they should. And I had someone ask me recently, three dogs, like that means you'll eventually have to lose all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to process that? And my response was pretty simple. It was, I wouldn't trade any amount of time of love for any amount of time for grief, because the love is always going to outweigh that time of grief.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yeah. It's true. I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. And, Anya was with us for 8 years. And at the beginning, it was like, well, how could this possibly happen? She didn't get to live her life. It's so unfair. All of those types of emotions that you go through. And now I look at it and go, thank goodness we had 8 years with this beautiful little human. Um, that's the gift. That's the perspective that you were mentioning earlier, right? We're able to look at things from a much different light. And I'm grateful for that.
Well, and that comes with a lot of work, Christine. I mean, there's a
Yep.
lot of internal work you have to do to shift your mindset from a perspective of pain, why, confusion, anger, the steps of grief, right?
Hmm.
Into one of acceptance, in a way of, okay, this happened. I'm facing my reality here.
I think acceptance is a good word, and yet at the same time, I can remember hating that word. I'm like, I'm never going to accept this. This is just unacceptable completely. And her death is not acceptable, but
Yeah.
there's no good reason. There's no reason, you can't say to a person who's lost somebody important, you can't say, well, everything happens for a reason. Well, you know
Yeah.
what? Fine. Maybe that's true or not true. I don't even know. All I know is that I don't have to have, I can accept the fact that this is the way my life is now, but I don't have to accept that she, um, that she's dead. That
I
still hurts
completely
like hell,
agree.
right?
Yeah. I don't know if you went through this, but I remember for a while after I lost my dad and then my aunt from ovarian cancer. I remember people saying, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
That infuriated me
I know.
like I cannot explain to you.
Right.
And I remember I look back on that now of I don't think that they knew what else to do. I think that culturally that's just our knee-jerk reaction to something bad happens to someone, we apologize on their behalf. But
Right.
I remember this feeling of just pure fury
Yep.
when people would apologize to me as if I had anything to do with it, as if
Right.
I could have stopped it, I would have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's so interesting that I look back on words like that with a lot of discomfort of like, well, what does that do for me?
Yeah.
And that was a very negative mindset for me to have. And I recognize that now, but it really took me a long time to get to that place of no one means anything malicious by this. They just really, frankly, probably don't have the perspective that I have,
That's right.
having gone through something traumatic.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say to people that you got to have big shoulders because you have to carry a lot.
Yeah.
And what you end up carrying is other people's discomfort with your situation
Mm,
because they don't know how to handle it.
right.
They don't know what to say. Our culture is so like, anti-death. We don't talk about it. And so it's no wonder nobody has any tool set to know how to communicate or support or be a companion to somebody who's grieving.
Right.
So it's not a blame situation. It's just simply the fact that we just don't have the experience and we don't even know the language. So to say I'm sorry, and I was like that at the beginning when people said to me, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I'm like, well, that's nice, but whatever. Now I look at it differently. And I think sorry we can look at the word differently. Words are so important. That's another big thing that's come out of this for me is language is everything. How we say something is so impactful. Not necessarily what we say, but how we're saying it, right? Um, but if somebody looks at me and says, "I am so deeply sorry for what you've gone through or going through," that I can handle that. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's the dismissive element of, "Oh, I'm so sorry,"
Yeah.
that
Sorry
we
for your
don't.
loss.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sending you
So it's
thoughts and hugs. Like, okay, well,
yeah.
I don't need that.
Right, right, right. And again, that's where the big shoulders come in, where you say, okay, they're trying their best. They're trying to communicate their feelings to me in a situation that they don't know how to handle.
Right.
So thank you. Right? That ends up being the response, and we have big shoulders. We have big jars, right? In our jar is our grief, and at the beginning, the grief fills the entire jar. And then as time moves forward, because it inevitably does, we don't have a choice,
Hmm.
all these people come around us and we end up realizing that we had to have a bigger jar in order to hold our grief, but to hold all of their discomfort too.
Yeah. It's a really fascinating way to look at that. I never really thought about that, but you're right. That is what it is. We're
Hmm.
just constantly making and creating space to be able to properly manage everyone's emotions, including our own.
Right,
There's definitely times where I wrongfully prioritize the feelings of others and trying to make them more comfortable about my discomfort
right, right, right,
versus just
right.
saying, nope, this is my journey right
Yeah.
now, and I'm just going to go through this. One of my cousins reached out after I shared with you before we hopped on that I unfortunately had a miscarriage about a year ago,
Mm.
and one of my cousins reached out, and I'll never forget this. She said, "I know there's nothing I can do to take away the pain that you're feeling right now, but here's a list of things I can do. I can send you groceries. I can send you dinners. I can take over these parts of your business. I can communicate with your employees. I can be there to talk to your clients." Literally a checklist. And I
Hmm.
took her up on that
You
because I
bet.
was like, thank you for giving me something actionable and knowing what I needed without just giving me kind of a blanket statement of, let me know if you need anything. Because
Right.
once again, I think that's kind of the language that we're taught and not taught of how to deal with someone that's going through something traumatic.
Yes.
And it was just, I after I kind of got through the dust of all of that, I reached back out to her and said, that was the most helpful thing anyone has ever offered to me in any stage of grief of my life. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Actionable items is especially in the earlier years, I'm going to say, because that's how it is. We're newly bereaved for at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
Um, and so having somebody step in like that is incredibly helpful. It's an excellent example of what we should communicate to others around us of how they can help a grieving person.
Right.
Take the trash out. Make
Yep.
sure trash gets to the curb, or gets to the dump, or mow the lawn. Don't ask,
Yep. Just do it.
just do it.
Yeah. Yep. I'm curious, when you first started building Friends of Anya,
Mhm.
what did those first steps look like? How did you get that ball rolling? And did you know at that time that you were building something that was really going to gain momentum? Did it feel like that?
We had no idea. I mean, there's always been such a wonderful feeling in this work because I really believe, right? Anya drives this. It's her spirit, it's her energy that makes us all come together. So I think David and I always knew that we would do something positive with this, but um, in the beginning we had no idea that the need was going to be what it is. We started off as a fundraising organization. We were just trying to raise money to support a little group at Home Health and Hospice in Merrimack that it was just a little grief group that got together for 7 weeks once a year. It wasn't, it had no, it was wonderful because for us, it's all we had. It's all Bella had, my other daughter, Bella, who was 6.5. I'm sorry, 5.5 when Anya died. Um, and so I'll try not to make the history too long, but David and I had support through Compassionate Friends as parents who had lost a child, and that's a brilliant organization. And we were finding such comfort in that, but we weren't finding, Bella wasn't finding that. So she came home from school one day and just said, I don't fit in. I don't feel like I have any friends. I don't want to go to school. And it dawned on us that, well, we got to do something for her that we're getting. So we did. We found this little group. And then after that group and seeing the results and the feelings that we were all feeling from having been through it and the positive stuff we were getting, we knew we needed to support that. So we started to support it. And then as we became a 501c3, started growing the fundraising portion of it. But then we found out about this national organization. It's called National Alliance for Children's Grief, which is an organization that supports various grief centers across the country. Not a whole lot, but they're here, right? There's help. And so we went to their conference and we were blown away. We were blown away by how many people were getting help. And we knew we had to try to come up with the same idea for something for New Hampshire. So lo and behold, we went from fundraising to our own separate entity of a Center for Grieving Children and Families, and started getting busy. The statistic for the state of New Hampshire is 1 in 12 children are bereaved before age 18.
Wow.
That is a statistic for a parent or a sibling death. That doesn't include grandparents who are, raising kids now. It doesn't include aunts and uncles or other guardians that are raising children. It doesn't include friends that are dying.
Right.
So we know the 1 in 12 is greater. That is a huge need for the state. And we were watching and could see other centers doing that in other parts of the country. So we thought, well, we're going to do it. So we did.
There's also so much stigma. So I was 20 when my dad died, and there's so much stigma around therapy
Oh, yeah.
that I was really hesitant. It took me 4 years after he died before I sought out a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And for 4 years struggled with anger and self-hate
Mm.
and like hyperfixation and then lack of motivation, like these swings of feelings.
And guilt and shame and
Guilt,
remorse
shame.
and regret.
I was in
And,
college when he
mhm.
died. I should I have been home to help my mom, and I just for 4 years lived in that space
Yeah.
and never once thought to seek help. I never dawned on me that there were groups of other kids like me who couldn't even legally drink, and I was trying to figure it out,
Right.
and I just think what you're doing is so beautiful to recognize that if we can help particularly younger folks understand, process, and move through grief, we're going to create this really beautiful future of very empathetic, well communicating adults in our society that will help each other grow. Why should that healing start once we're old enough? And also, there's a lot of therapists that, I'm in therapy now. I go every 2 weeks. It's $20 every time I want to go, which is inexpensive in the
I
grand
was going to
scheme.
say, wow, that's cheap. Yeah.
Yeah,
You.
insurance. But still, what if you don't have insurance? What if you don't have good insurance? What if you find a
Exactly.
therapist who you really jive with, but they don't take your insurance? And then it's like speed dating to go find a new one. And so to offer a solution, a supplemental group is just, I wish that I knew about you when I was going through this. I wish that I had thought to seek something like this out because I would have really benefited from that.
It's a story we hear so much, Rachel. Um, people who experienced grief when they were younger and wish they had had a place.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things to touch on with what you just said, and one is that therapy, one-on-one therapy, is necessary for certain people, right? But it isn't for everybody. And then what we do here, and it's really an important distinction, is that we are not therapists and we aren't counselors. This is peer-to-peer support. And there are many reasons why this method works, but I know firsthand from many different experiences of my own that the peer-to-peer support is entirely necessary for our healing. It is not a substitute for needing counseling or therapy. The two together work hand in hand just beautifully. If you can have both, that's wonderful. So we are all peer-to-peer support. The reason I love it so much is that for a child, the first thing that they learn when they come in here is they're not alone. The minute they walk through the door, they're like, oh my God, I did not know there were other kids who had this happen to them, because nobody talks about it. So for them to have that, it's visceral when we see them come in the door. There's a relief. It's like their shoulders drop, and they, by week 3, they're running up to their rooms. They're so happy to see their new friends, and it's connection. It's human connection, right? And knowing you're not alone. I say it all the time. It's not rocket science. It's really, and it's beautiful in its simplicity to see what these kids and adults, we also serve adults here. So to see the connection and the healing that starts right away. Because they finally know they're not alone.
All people, whether or not you're going through grief, are seeking a sense of belonging. All people. And especially if you're going through or have been through something traumatic.
Yeah.
That feeling of isolation is for me, at least in my experience, it was my immediate first thought.
Yeah.
No one knows what I'm going through.
Nobody.
And I knew, of course, this has happened to other people. And instead of that being a sense of comfort for me at the time, because I wasn't really connected with them, it became this sense of guilt of like, well, if they can get through it, what's my problem? Why am I struggling? And what a horrible mindset. That's how I felt for the first few years before I found counseling and therapy and started to kind of work through that myself. But to offer a physical space,
Yes.
so you're having physical and emotional belonging,
Yes.
is just, I mean, it's just incredible.
And again, that's the key. It's a safe space, and it's a home. Um, it's about coming together and talking about really hard stuff. And I always say this about my favorite word, I think, and it could change again, I don't know. But for now, my favorite word is vulnerability. I think it's the most beautiful thing um, to be witness to, or to watch somebody go through, because it's real and honest, and it's hard. And that's what I see these kids go through in here all the time. It's exceptional that they share what they share, and do it so willingly. And then the minute they share something that's really hard and powerful for them, the other child in the room says, I'm so glad you said that because I feel that way too. Didn't know anybody else felt that. I thought I was bad because I felt that way, and now you're telling me you do too? Oh my gosh. Right? What a relief. What a relief. These kids, so I can go on and on about all of these little people in here, and these little people are ages 4 through 18. And then now we are doing young adults 19 to 26, because there is a window or an age gap in there that says, these guys haven't had anybody to talk to them. So we recognize that, and we even started doing that. We also see the guardians, whoever brings the child to group, is also able to attend an adult group. Because the idea is that they're the ones who are supporting these grieving children. They either have their own grief and need to have a place to put it, or they are seeking out how to help their grieving child. Most of the time it's both.
Right.
And our theory is that the kids get the support they need, the adults get what they need, and they are very similar. What we do with the kids, we bring to the adults, so that when they leave here, the conversation can happen, so that at home you can say, you know what, when we were in group, we did this. What did you guys do that? And what was that like for you? And start being able to talk about how they feel and what's happened to them as a family.
That is a brilliant approach, because particularly if in many cases there is some form of guardian or parent in that kid's life,
Yeah.
and if they've never gotten the tools of how to process grief themselves, and then they're dealing with someone who's also trying to process grief. I remember there were moments that, even my mom would, I knew that she was having big feelings,
Yeah.
but I was actively watching her suppress them.
Yeah.
And then you look at that as the child, and then it's like, should I model this behavior?
That's right.
And that's not necessarily the right way to handle it. And then you're creating this kind of systemic process of lack of communication, lack of processing,
Yep.
lack of empathy.
Yep.
When you're faced with something like grief, so then when it happens again, you're like, well,
Yeah.
I've been through this. This is what I do. I just shove it down.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
That's right. Right. And it does. It filters through all of it. Right. We're not helping them. We have got to be able to. You're right. The modeling, right? The kids model our behavior all the time, and we hear guardians come in and caregivers come in and say, "Well, I wanted to cry so bad, but I couldn't cry in front of the kids. I didn't want to cry in front." And our response around here is, "Why not?"
Right.
They're like, "Well, if they see me cry, they're going to think this and that." I'm like, "No, what they see is you cry, and then they see you recover from that.
Right.
They see you come to a place where you stop crying. That's the positive piece that they take away. And so it's okay to show them emotion. It's okay. I mean, it has to be age appropriate, obviously. I mean, there are certain things you don't say to a 4-year-old that you might say to an 18-year-old. You've got to, use your discretion based on developmental age, right? Um, but in the main, if we can show them that we're dealing with this and that we're using tools, they're going to follow our lead. And the other part of this work, you mentioned something else earlier. We look at this as preventative work. That systemic piece, we got to break that. We have to be able to show these children and that they are capable of living a life differently than what might have gone before them. We have to be able to show them that they're capable of making good, healthy decisions for themselves.
Right.
We have to give them those tools.
Yeah.
Because they don't see that. They're just not getting that example, and we got to give it to them. So that's the preventative work. It shows that kids, grieving children who get support in the early years of their grief have better social, emotional, and physical outcomes later.
Right. Feelings are meant to be felt.
That's it. You got to get in to get out.
Yeah, I love that. If you had unlimited resources and unlimited support, what is your big bad dream for your organization?
There's a few.
Sky-
There's a
Sky's the limit.
few. Yeah, I love it. One would be, we have 2 houses here. One would be to join these 2 houses and make them one big house with a big kitchen hub in the center. That, the kitchen is the gathering place of every home, right? We would love to have that so that the kids can come and even be able to open up the house as even a drop-in, particularly for the teens who are always looking, it's a different thing, but to give them that place, right? But to create that type of heart of the home, if you would, here. So that would be the physical thing. The other thing would be to expand our resources nationally, to be able to reach kids where they're at, not just those who come to our center. We do that right now in the state through the schools and with our backpack program and community kits, and trying to reach different organizations to give everybody the tools to work and talk to grieving kids and support one another. But to do that nationally would be amazing. Yeah, there's more, but but we just have to do the best we can to reach all these kids. The other goal for us is anybody who comes here to this center, any family that we help and support, that there's no cost to them. We everything we do, we raise all the money, and our families come here for free. That's important. There's no insurance to deal with. There's no payment. There's no worry. We're trying to release that burden from them. Families who knows what they're up against when somebody in the home dies, and they may have been up against things before somebody died. And now the death lays on top of that, or the death occurs and then all hell breaks loose. So, we see both sides. So to try and take away some of that angst financially is a big thing. We'll always do that.
I think that's beautiful. Scale and accessibility are very good goals, and it sounds like you're already on your way there, which is really exciting.
Trying. Yeah.
So what's next for Friends of Aine? How can our listeners join you, support you, get behind your mission? What can we do?
So we look at things around here in 3 different buckets. Like, it's support, it's education, and it's advocacy. So as always, the support side, right? What we do right here immediate with our families. And you can be a volunteer. We train volunteers to facilitate our groups. So every Tuesday and Thursday night we hold groups, and it takes, in order to do that every week, it takes 44 or more volunteers. So we're always looking to keep that pool of folks full. I think, the biggest thing, and I don't shy away from this, and it's probably too blunt, but it's money. Bottom line, we don't exist unless we have the funds to do it.
Right.
And this is a very difficult environment for funding at the moment. Everybody knows that,
Yes.
right? So we work hard at that. We're $1 million plus operating budget. It's not small, and so it's a great deal of work. So I put that shout out there very shamelessly.
I,
So
I see nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's the point.
yeah,
You're a nonprofit
right.
that's depending on funding.
That's right.
I think that a lot of nonprofits kind of shy away from that because they don't want to feel sticky, but you're like, we got big dreams.
Yeah,
We got to scale and be
yeah,
accessible and grow and merge and do all these wonderful things for families that need it. So we need money. Please donate. If you were watching and you were interested, please check out Friends of Aine. Please connect with Christine online, social media, LinkedIn. Please reach out to her. In closing, Christine,
yeah.
as I had mentioned to you, that I've gone through some very close family loss, including some fertility loss. And I had a friend send me this really beautiful message. And it said something like, you don't know that when you get in your car to go on the highway, you're not going to get hit. You don't know that if you go out to dinner, you're not going to choke on the food you're eating. And in fact, you don't even know that when you go to sleep at night, you'll wake up the next morning. But there's a reason that you still get in the car. There's a reason you still go out to eat, and there's a reason you still sleep, and that's hope.
Yeah.
And if you don't have hope, how is life worth living?
What's it all about?
And that really brought me a lot of comfort of, you're right, I still do those things. Despite the inherent risk, there's risk in everything. Everything you do, there's risk. But we do it because we hope and have optimism and belief that things will work out. And so I'd love for you to share what inspires you and gives you hope today.
Oh my gosh. I think I would have answered that question differently, except for my experience in group here Tuesday night was, because I still sit in groups and try to stay connected to all these little peeps, and the hope is that my passion is these kids. There's no doubt about it. The passion is the mission that Friends of Aine upholds. I think we live in a really difficult time, and I think our kids need all the help we can give them. The hope is that they're amazing, and given the tools and given the voice and given the right directions, these kids are going to do tremendous things. They're remarkable to me. They're insightful. They're intelligent. They're creative. They're funny. They're quirky. They're awkward. They're all these wonderful things. And if they're allowed to be all those things, they are going. My faith in humanity has been restored after a group of kids I was with on Tuesday night. Yeah. They were phenomenal.
Well, and
they're the hope. They're the hope.
I'd argue that you're the hope. You're the vehicle to hope. Truly, I hope that you and David take moments to reflect on what you've built, and not just the logistics and the money and the homes, but the impact. I hope you really use that as a very strong qualitative measure of your success.
Oh, I appreciate that very much. I will that's hard to hear sometimes. I have to be honest with you, but I appreciate hearing it. And this is my girls. This is my Anya. This is love. This is what she built, and this is the gift that she gave us.
Yeah. Christine, thank you. This has
Thank
been
you, Rachel.
one of my favorite conversations to date. I know I'm not supposed to pick favorites on a live podcast here, but I did, everyone who's
Yeah.
watching. Thank you, Christine. For those who are watching, if you've been moved by Christine's story, by Friends of Anya, and if you're able, please donate, please contribute, please be active, please spread the word, please follow this organization, and know that there are others in your network, and you might be one of them, who's struggling with something silently, and you don't have to be. Christine, thank you again. This has been a really wonderful conversation today.
Thank you, Rachel. I really appreciate you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into The Mill. We will see you next time.